is a lot of talk at the moment about cortisol being the reason that you can't lose weight. People are selling you diets to lower your cortisol, or it might be cortisol lowering supplements. So with it being Mental Health Awareness Week, I thought it would be a good time to talk about this because of course cortisol is a hormone that's involved in regulating our stress response, and stress can have such a huge impact on our mental health. So cortisol is released when we're in that fight-flight mode. We're feeling under threat and the body responds with its survival mechanism. And part of that response is the release of cortisol to cause a sort of cascade of events, slowing down your digestion, reducing your insulin levels, asking the liver to increase its release of glucose to make energy more available for us to use in the body to be able to respond to whatever the perceived threat is. If this stress response is fleeting, then this increase in cortisol doesn't really have any negative impacts on our health. And in fact, obviously, as we've just described, it's useful because it helps us to respond from the threat, which is a survival thing. However, chronic stress may lead to elevated cortisol levels. And over the longer term, this can lead to inflammation within the body. And that might be linked then to things like diabetes and metabolic syndrome. So people who are chronically stressed also tend to eat more. It's probably a behavioural thing, and weight gain, of course, is always multifactorial. So anyone that's really reductionist and says cortisol equals weight gain and they're not considering anything else, that's one red flag. But things like genetics, your environment, social determinants, lifestyle factors, there's so much that contributes to what your weight is. Cortisol secretion may make us crave more hyperpalatable foods. It may be that we are using food to manage emotions when we're stressed, along with this increasing cravings for those hyperpalatable foods. So that could contribute to weight gain. But it's not the cortisol itself that's causing that. Having increased cortisol levels over time can cause a redistribution of fat to the abdominal region, and this means that there's more fat around your vital organs, and that's again probably a protective strategy of the body to protect those organs from the perceived threat. But unfortunately, this type of fat, it's called visceral fat, is associated with more health risks. And so it is something we want to try and avoid if possible. But despite all of this, elevated cortisol in and of itself isn't causing the weight gain. It's more about the behaviours that someone with chronic stress will be displaying. So that, like I said, that could be stress eating. It could be using alcohol to manage that stress. It could be that there's reduced physical activity because you've got lower energy or mood levels. You don't feel like you've got the time or headspace to prepare healthy foods because you're overwhelmed with tasks. The list goes on. No one food is going to directly lower your cortisol levels. So of course, eating a healthy, balanced diet with lots of plants, lots of fibre, lots of healthy proteins, etc., that's going to be good for your body and mind. That's going to support health. But it's a big red flag if anyone's promising to balance your cortisol levels through their meal plan. Cortisol levels can't be suddenly decreased through eating a few berries and greens. They're going to be reduced over time through reducing the sources of stress in your life, reducing that threat response. So yes, cortisol can impact where you store fat, and it's not healthy for you to be chronically stressed for several reasons. But no, cortisol is not going to stop you from being able to lose weight or impact your metabolism to any significant levels. So if it is potentially increasing your desire for comfort foods, the stress itself is leading you to emotionally eat. We use lots of different techniques in clinic, from compassionate mind training techniques, mindfulness, sensory input, learning how to respond more helpfully to thoughts, beliefs, thinking styles, just to name a few. Changing your lifestyle to decrease and manage your stress will be far more effective, and no diet alone is going to lower cortisol levels. So watch out for anyone that tells you otherwise. As always, what are your thoughts, questions, comments? Let me know below.